Thailand's always had this reputation as being, a real kind of jewel in Asia, one of the best tigers. People began to compare it to Taiwan. Now the comparison is much more with countries like, not to be rude, but the Philippines. Something seriously seems to have gone wrong. People are talking about Thailand as a basket case. You must have heard these, when you go abroad. Have things really got that bad? Do you think there's a perception gap? Is this really a huge crisis for this country?
I think there are some major challenges that we have to face up to. First of all, I think the last couple of years have seen a trend where there's a breakdown of law and order.
Yes.
In the past, I think we have had problems with enforcement of the law, but at the perhaps at the sort of street level,
right,
and maybe in terms of some loopholes and not so strict enforcement of the law. But for the bigger picture, in terms of disorder in general, that has not been the case.
Right.
Clearly, that changed over the last 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
And it's one of the main reasons why I felt that the government had to put that right.
Right.
Secondly, I think there has been a division that has run throughout the last 4 or 5 years of political conflict, where we try to get to grips with what democracy entails. And I've always maintained that to say that the conflict at the moment is a rural-urban divide or some kind of class divide is not identifying the problem right.
Right. Okay.
There may be elements of that.
Yes.
Just as you see different views of urban, rural voters everywhere. But you cannot say that, for instance, that the people who support Thaksin do not include the very rich,
right,
the middle class. At the same time, clearly, opposition to him, or people who join the People's Alliance for Democracy, include a lot of rural people.
Yes.
Even the voting for the Democrat or the Pheu Thai or PPP or Thai Rak Thai.
Yes.
In regions where each party wins overwhelmingly, that means rural supporters. So and then that's missing the point. The real point is the expectations that people have of what democracy entails. And one group clearly stresses the will of the majority, which of course is correct.
Yes.
And therefore they think that once there is an election outcome, that's that.
Yes.
The other group does not necessarily deny this, but maintains, and I think correctly too, that democracy also entails a limited government. A majority does not give you a license to put yourself above the law,
right,
whether it's election law, whether it's corruption law. And of course, when you resolve on the issue, the issues of who has broken or violated the law or not, you rely on the courts or other such organizations, which in all democracies are not elected.
Right. Sure.
So there seems to be just a confusion of this.
Right.
And essentially, what has made things perhaps worse is that one group goes too far.
Right.
To say that you can use political solutions for what is strictly legal problems. And the other group goes so far as to say you can use legal solution to political problems.
Right.
So that's that's where we're at.
Yes.
And that's what my government wants to put right.
Yes. I mean, I guess your problem in terms of perception, certainly international perception, is that, and I think you've analysed that brilliantly actually, and I haven't heard it quite analysed like that before, but you would appear to be on the legal side, not the democratic side. I mean, to put it very kind of...
Well, I don't think that's fair. For one thing, I've been in electoral politics for almost 2 decades now, and my stance on every single issue throughout the 18 years that I've been in politics is clear. I do not support undemocratic means, but when things were breaking down prior to the last coup, it was clear that we had an elected government that clearly violated democratic principles. You're talking, over 2,000 people dead from policies that clearly violate human rights. You've seen blatant interferences with the various organizations that are supposed to be neutral, including the Electoral Commission.
Right.
And so we voice opposition to that.
Right.
But I myself have stuck with the parliamentary system, and I never moved out of that realm. And when the protest took place last year, every time the protesters did things that I felt were not right, I voiced my disagreement openly.
Right.
And after the coup, my position was also clear. I disagreed with it, but I thought the quickest and smoothest way of returning things back to normalcy was not to have violence in the streets, but to make sure that the coup leaders stuck to their pledge that they would return power to the people in time frame of say a year, which they did. And the constitution itself passed a referendum, and although we don't like all the provisions in it, it received the support of majority of Thai people, and it should be amended once we return to normalcy.
Right.
And the the constitution itself may have provisions that parties might think are inappropriate.